tell you a little bit about me. Again, I'm Brett Kessler, and I'm actually a chiropractor. I no longer practice chiropractic anymore. I haven't in a while. I've owned 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. I've sold all of those clinics, and now I practice and I teach this concept full time. I'm traveling all around the country and teaching the information I'm about to share with you. So you're probably on this webinar because somebody invited you to be on, or maybe somebody, or possibly the thing is that you heard me speak live, or somebody said, hey, you got to check out this information, this powerful financial information. So everything I do is word of mouth and referral. So I'm sure that you're on here because there was somebody that told you that you had to check this out. So as I said, anyway, I am a chiropractor. I owned about, actually I owned 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. I sold all of those clinics. And back when I started this concept that I'm going to share with you, I was $984,711 in debt. That's what I owed to the third-party creditors. Now you're probably thinking, well, how does a guy from Kansas get to be almost $1 million in debt, right? I know if you're listening and you're from New York City or California, that buys you a very small house, right? But in Kansas, it buys you a lot, right? So anyway, I acquired this debt because, like I said, I was a chiropractor, so I did go to chiropractic college. I had student loans. I also had just my primary house that I was living in and my chiropractic clinic that I had. Also have property in the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. And yes, it's on the lake, Lake of the Ozarks. So obviously, if you have a place on the lake, you got to have a boat and a wave runner, right? I mean, so there's no sense in having a place on the lake without a boat and a wave runner. I'm also an airplane pilot, so being an airplane pilot, I have to have my own airplane, right? So it didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt. Well, I applied these principles in this concept I'm about to share with you, and I paid that debt off in 39 months. 3 years, 3 months, didn't work any harder, change my cash flow, take any additional risk or lose control. All I did is added one step into my financial life. And I'm going to go in with you and explain how that works. Now, I'm not here to sell you anything or to ask you to buy anything. Hopefully, if you like what I'm going to share with you, if you do decide to practice this concept in your life, that you will do it with me, all right? Now, there is a book there that you see on your screen, and it's written by my mentor, R. Nelson Nash, and it's called Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, this book completely changed my financial life. This is a book that you have to get into your wealth building library. And if you're like me and you have a little ADD and don't like to read, it also comes with 2 hours of audio. So make sure you get this book. You have to add this book to your financial library. You can go on our website, www.themoneymultiplier.com, and you can order it from us. And or there's other ways you can get the book as well. But you gotta, just to make sure that you get this into your financial library, and I'll share with you a couple other books as well as we go along. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you to build your wealth, create your wealth, pay off debt, pay off expenses, all with keeping total control of your money. So just to be clear of what we're going to be talking about tonight, here it is. Some people got to have it. Some people really need it. Some of y'all do things. Okay, so money is what we're going to be talking about. Now, so the next thing you see on the screen is a bicycle, right? And you're probably wondering, why is there a bicycle on this screen? Well, I'm not going to play this for you because I don't want to take up more time than we need to, because you can go look at this yourself. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to go Google, actually go to YouTube, all right? So go to YouTube, and I want you to click on the backward bicycle. So go to YouTube, enter in the backward bicycle. It's about a 7.5-minute video, and this is what it looks like. I'll just play a snip of it for you, and I'll let you go take a look at it down the road here a little later.
Hey, it's me, Destin. Welcome back to Smarter Every Day. You've heard people say, hey, it's me, Destin. Well,
okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to go to YouTube and watch that video, the backward bicycle. The reason is because what I'm about to go over with you is a little bit of a paradigm shift, all right? It's not normal thinking. It's not what you have been taught about money. Your parents didn't teach you this. Your grandparents didn't teach you this. Your friends, coworkers, and colleagues probably have never heard about the information I'm about to share with you. So you got to get your mind kind of thinking right, because this is definitely outside of the box thinking. So again, the backward bicycle will kind of help you with that. All right. Now, again, so here's what's going to happen when we go through this. In about 20 minutes, a half an hour or so, some of you are going to be sitting there with your arms crossed, looking at this and listening. probably you're going to be thinking, hey, that looks really good, but it just looks too good to be true, right? I'm sure you guys have heard things like that before, where you've watched something and it looks too good to be true. All I'm asking you to do here is to keep an open mind. Just keep an open mind as we go through this. Now, I'm sure you're going to have questions, and as we go through, I want you to write down your questions, because you're not going to remember them in your head. I always say a short pencil is better than a long memory. So I'll give you an opportunity to contact me and get all your questions answered after we're done here. But again, just write down those questions so we can cover them.
One of the most important things you're ever going to.
All right. Now, there's a guy named Will Rogers, and here's what Will Rogers says. He says, the problem in America isn't so much what people don't know, it's what people think they know that just ain't so. So a lot of the stuff that you've been taught about money may not actually be the truth. So keep an open mind as we go through this, because I'm going to wow you with some stuff that's really going on with your money and what's going on in your financial life. Now, we're going to talk about how does your money flow. We're going to show you the method to get all of your money back on everything that you're buying in your life, products and services that you're buying. So in order to do that, and again, so here's what that means, right? The thing that you do right now is whenever you go to spend money, I don't care if you buy a car, a house, an airplane ticket, a pack of chewing gum, it doesn't matter what you buy. That money has to leave your hands. It has to leave your family. That money is gone forever, because what we do is we give people money, and in exchange, they give us the product and service, right? So, but that money is gone forever. You've given up that money. You've given up all future earning right on that money whenever you buy products and services. Well, how about if I can show you how to get all your money back for all the things you're going to buy the rest of your life, products and services? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? All right. Well, I think in the next half hour or so, you're going to see that. Now, let me ask you this. First of all, we have to establish of what the definition of money is. So if I ask you to tell me what is the definition of money, what would you say? Well, here's the thing we're going to do. Let's agree on, just for this call today, let's agree that money is nothing more than a means of exchange, right? That's the definition of money. I mean, if you think about it, is it really anything else? Every day you do what with money? You exchange it. You exchange money for food, food for money, car for money, money for car, house for money, money for house, airplane ticket for money, money for airplane tickets, cell phone bill for money, cell phone for the money, right? Money for cell phone, right? All it is a means of exchange. So that's our definition of money. It's a means of exchange. Now, in the money multiplier method, we're going to talk about the mysteries of money, the machine. What is the machine that we are going to use to build our wealth? I'm going to share that with you in just a few minutes. The mission, the marathon. This is not a get-rich-quick deal. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is something you're going to want to add into your financial life. We'll talk about the millionaire, and we'll talk about the movement. All right, let's rock and roll and get started. So you have 3 calculators that you see on your screen. I'm going to make believe that wherever you live, you just pick the state and city wherever you live. And since I live in Florida, I'll call it the Bank of Florida. Let's say that you have $25,000 in your bank okay, and it's in the Bank of Florida. It's in the conventional Bank of Florida. Because anytime you guys get money in, here's what you do with it. You put that money in somebody else's bank, right? You probably all have checking and savings accounts, yes? So I'm going to say you have $25,000 in your bank account. And that is earning 4% interest. Now, I know it's not. I know your bank account's not paying you 4% interest, but I'm going to say you found a really, really good bank, and that bank is paying you 4% interest on your money. Now, you are in the market to buy a new car or a car for $25,000, and I'm going to be your banker at your local bank where you do business, so we will just call me Banker Brent. And here's what you do. You come into the bank and you say, Brent, I want to take out that $25,000 that's in my bank account earning 4% interest, and I want to go pay cash for a car. And I say, no, no, no. You do not want to take out that $25,000 earning 4% to go pay cash for a car. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a loan for $25,000, and I'm going to charge you 6% interest. Now, if we go buy a car, in other words, if we go to a bank to get a loan to finance the car, how long would we normally finance a $25,000 car for? Okay, let's just call it 5 years or 60 months. It doesn't really matter if it's 4 years or 6 years. We'll just say 5 years or 60 months. So here's what I'm saying with these numbers on the screen. I'm telling you to leave your money in the bank earning 4%, and I'm going to make you a loan of $25,000, and I'm going to charge you a 6% interest rate. And over the same equal time period, in this case 5 years or 60 months, our bank will pay you more money on the 4% that you're earning than you will pay us on the 6% that you're borrowing. Now, is that a true statement? In other words, can you make money earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6 over the same equal time period? You guys are shaking your head no, the same thing that I did when I saw this the first time, because you're thinking there's no way. I'm losing 2%. If I earn 4 and pay 6, I'm losing 2. That's exactly what I thought, but the banker told you the truth. And let's walk through it. So I want you to look at that payment calculator, 25,000, 6% for 5 years. That means your car payment is 483.32 a month times 60 months. That means you're going to pay a total of 28,999 for the car. You're going to pay 25,000 in principal and almost $4,000 in interest. Now that same money that I told you over here to leave in the bank earning 4% interest over the same 5 years or 60 months, you're actually going to have $30,525. Now, here's my question. Is this number right here, the $30,525, is that a larger number than the $28,999? Or do you do math differently than I do? No, it's a bigger number, right? Well, how can that be? How can you have more money earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6? Well, here's what's happening. Look at the car payments, right? The car payments, the car balance is going down. It's decreasing every month. You are paying that down. The number that I told you to leave in the bank, right, the 25,000 in the bank earning 4, that is on an increasing balance. So one is on a decreasing balance and the other one is on an increasing balance. But that's not the way our minds are programmed to work. We think that if we earn 4 and pay 6, we're losing 2. We need to start learning how money works. All I wanted to do with this little exercise is I wanted to prove to you that you can make money all day long earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6. So hopefully you see that now. Now, why is that important? Well, here's why it's important. Let's talk about the machine that we're going to use to build our wealth. The machine that we're going to use is a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Now, before you shut off the computer and run out of the room, you're thinking to yourself, here's what you're thinking. I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, Brent, what in the heck does a whole life insurance policy have anything to do with me building my wealth? Why on earth would you ever want to use a whole life policy? Well, I ask this question at my live events and I get numerous answers, but here's what we're doing. The reason we're using this is because this is what the wealthy use. This is what the rich do. As a matter of fact, the #1 purchasers of whole life insurance in the world are conventional banks. Conventional banks own more in whole life insurance than all of their land and their buildings combined. Conventional banks since the year 2013 have quadrupled their portfolio of how much whole life insurance that they are purchasing. Now, why on earth are banks doing that? Why do banks own so much in whole life insurance? Is it because they're stupid or they know something the rest of us don't know? Yes, they know something we don't know. Now, how can you check out to make sure what I'm telling you is accurate? Go Google something called BOLI, B-O-L-I. It stands for bank-owned life insurance. You will see the hundreds of pages that come up about how much whole life insurance banks actually own. Now, why was that 4 and the 6% important that I talked about? Let's take a look. This is why. The 4% is the guaranteed growth rate that you get in your policy. That is your guaranteed growth rate. Now, that is without dividends. When the insurance company pays dividends, it's higher than 4%. But I only want to talk about the guaranteed number because we don't know for sure that the insurance company is going to continue to pay a dividend this year, next year, 5, 10 years from now. But I will tell you this. All of the insurance companies I work with have been paying dividends for over 90 plus consecutive years. So is there a pretty good chance that the insurance company will pay a dividend this year, next year, and the year after? Absolutely, yes, there is. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm only going to talk about the guaranteed 4% growth. So that is the guaranteed growth inside of your policy. And the highest interest rate the insurance company is going to charge you to take a loan is 6%. So can we make money all day long earning 4 and paying 6? And the answer is yes. So that's why the 4 and the 6% are important. Okay, now let's move on. Now, we've already talked about this, but let's hit it again. What is the definition of money? It's nothing more than a means of exchange. We exchange food for money, money for food, car for money, money for car, house for money, money for house. It's nothing more than a means of exchange. What's the purpose of money? Well, the purpose of money is to buy everything that we want in life, right? I mean, maybe we want to donate it. Maybe we want to buy a bigger house, another car. Maybe we want to send our kids to college. We want to, maybe buy a dog food, whatever it is, airline ticket, travel. All right. Now, who on this call believes in compound interest? Yes, all your hands go up. You've all been taught compound interest is a great thing. Well, let's talk about compound interest for a minute. The only way compounding works is if your product or your money sits still, right? So in other words, it can't be in motion. So in other words, all right, if I have a $20 bill and I want that money to compound, guess what I have to do with it? I got to take it down, I got to give it to the bank, and I give it to the bank teller, and now that money has to sit still in order for it to compound, right? If I go back in and get that $20 bill in a week, a month, or a year, it's no longer compounding. So compounding stops the motion of your money. Now, motion is a natural law of God, is it not? Everything is in motion. Just right now, I want you to take a look around you, right? You're probably up and about, moving around. Your lips are moving. You know, you're drinking water. You ate some lunch, and the food is in motion through your belly. The cars are moving outside. The birds are flying. Airplanes are flying. Everything is in motion. Would you guys want to go and buy some produce at your local grocery store and let it sit and compound for a couple weeks? No, it's going to spoil. Would you eat fish out of a stagnant pond that has no motion? No. Everything in life is about motion, and compounding stops that motion. But we've all been taught compounding is a great thing. Now, let me ask you this. We've been told compound interest is a great thing. I want you to name me one business in the world that actually uses compound interest. Just pick one. Yep, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking banks use compound interest. No, they don't. Banks use compound, so banks pay you compound interest and they charge you compound interest, but they don't, but again, so they don't use compound interest. And here's what I mean. Let's say if I took a $20 bill, I highlighted it in yellow, and I took it down to my local bank and I gave it to the bank teller. Now, does that bank teller take my $20 bill? Do they go into the back room of the bank and there's a little box there and it says Brent Kessler, and that's where they put that money until I come back to get it? No. As a matter of fact, if I go back and get that same $20 bill back tomorrow, the one that I highlighted and put my initials on, are they going to give me that same bill back? No. If I go back in an hour, are they going to give me the same one back? No. Why are they not going to give me the same $20 bill back? Because they're moving it. They're keeping it in motion. Let me ask you this. How much money does a grocery store make if groceries are just sitting, compounding on the shelf? Zero. How much money does a car dealer make if nobody is buying cars? How much money does the airlines make if nobody's traveling? How much does a house investor, someone in the real estate world, make if nobody is buying houses, flipping houses, renting houses? How much money does a hotel make if nobody's checking in and out of the hotel? Zero. Not one business in the world actually uses compound interest. So isn't it a little bit strange that all the major institutions that promote it, banks, Wall Street, mutual funds, insurance companies, they all tell us to park our money with them and leave it sit still, but they don't do it themselves. If it's so good to let your money sit and compound, why aren't they doing it? I'm just trying to get you to think about what's going on. Now, how many of you on the call have an IRA or a 401k? Quite a few of you, right? Well, why do you have an IRA or a 401k? What is the reason? Well, here's the reason. The reason is you're putting money into that plan because you want to save money for later. You want to save money for retirement. And your parents and your grandparents and your colleagues and your friends and your coworkers are putting money in an IRA and a 401k, right? Well, let me ask you this. Are there any guarantees at all with that IRA, 401k, or qualified plan? You're probably thinking no. Well, there is one guarantee. It's just actually guaranteed to never go below zero. But how exciting would that be if that actually happened? Wouldn't that suck? All right. Now, who is controlling your 401k? Is it you or somebody else? Somebody else is controlling it. And how long do you have to let it sit there in that 401k IRA qualified plan before you can get it out without paying a penalty? You're right, age 59 and a half, right? Even when you go get the money out at age 59 and a half, you still have to pay tax on the money. Do you not? So the only thing you're avoiding is the penalty. Now, so are there any guarantees? No. Who controls it? Somebody else. Let me ask you this, okay? I want you to tell me every single thing that you know about your retirement account, your 401k, your IRA qualified plan. Wait, hold on, don't tell me. I'll tell you what you know. You know one of two things. The thing that you know is if that account goes up or down based on the quarterly statements that you get, and you may know if the dollars are invested in a low, moderate, or high risk category. But other than that, you guys don't know crap about your retirement plan, do you? And somebody else is controlling it. And there's no guarantees it's going to be there. But you're doing it because you feel good because our parents, grandparents, friends, colleagues, coworkers are doing it, right? Now, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Okay? 3 questions. Is a dollar worth more today or in the future? The answer is today. And if you ever forget that, think about how many candy bars that you could buy 20 years ago for a dollar, how many you can buy today. Are taxes going to go up or go down? They're going to go up, right? That's the history. The history has been that taxes go up. Even if they don't go up, aren't we constantly taxed on more stuff all the time? Yes. 3rd question. Would you rather pay tax on the seed or the harvest? The small amount or the big amount? Yeah, you would rather pay tax on the small amount, right? I agree with all 3 of those answers. But by you putting money in a 401k, IRA, or qualified plan, you are violating all of those answers. Because what you're doing is giving up good dollars today to get paid with non-guaranteed weaker dollars in the future. You're compounding your tax because your tax is always going to be there. And when you do pay it, you're going to pay it at the higher rate. I'm just trying to get you to think about what's going on with your money. Now, let's go one step deeper into this. You told me money is a means of exchange. Did you not? Food is money, money is food. Car is money, money is car, right? Let's just say that today you're age around, let's say you are 40 years old. So today you're 40 years old. Well, I don't know how long you've been putting money in the retirement account, but we know we can't get it out without paying that penalty until we're 59 and a half, but the tax is always going to be there. So that's another 20 years we have to keep that money in there, right? And we said money is a means of exchange. So let's make believe that we're all going to leave here today and we're going to go to the grocery store and we're going to buy a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread. Are you going to wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years to eat that bread or drink that milk? That would be crazy, wouldn't it? How about if we go buy a car or a house today? You're going to wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years to drive the car or move in the house? That would be ridiculous, would it not? Well, why are you doing that with your money? Because you told me all those things equal money. So why do you do that with your money? See, people do things with money they would never do with things that money buys. You would never buy a loaf of bread and put it in the freezer and wait 20 years to eat it, would you? But you'll put money in an IRA, a 401k, a qualified plan, and hope to get more later. Is this starting to make a little sense? Oh, but guess what you tell me? You say, but Brent, I get a match. If I put money in my retirement account, I get a match. Well, do you really get a match? Is even the principal guaranteed? No, it's not. So the match is definitely not guaranteed. But let's just go with your theory and say that you get a match. So you put $1 in, they match it $1. Okay. Well, we said that food equals money, money equals food. So let's go to the store, buy a loaf of bread, bring home that loaf of bread, put it in the freezer, and 20 years from now, we're going to open up the freezer, and guess what's going to be in there? 2 loaves of bread. How much better is that second loaf of bread going to taste 20 years from now? You're right. It's still going to be freezer burned. So what I want you to do is I want you to start using your good dollars today and paying them back with weaker dollars in the future. Totally contraindicated to what we've been taught. They want your good dollars today and they want to pay you back with non-guaranteed weaker dollars in the future. I bet a lot of you guys on the call and gals, a lot of you listeners, you could use those dollars today, could you not? Maybe you're a real estate investor. You want to buy more property. Maybe you need a new car. Maybe you got some student loans to pay off, credit card debt. Maybe you want to go on a vacation. Maybe you want to help a kid with college, right? You could probably use those dollars today that you're putting in those qualified plans. Just trying to get you to think. All right, we beat that up enough. Let's move on. Now I'm going to show you how does a conventional bank work. This is how your bank works. Whoever you do business with, whichever bank that you deal with, this is how it works. The thing that you do is you put your money into the bank, okay? Now, on this example, I'm going to say that you put in $100,000 into your conventional bank, your checking or your savings account, and your bank is going to pay you 4% interest on your money. I know they're not, but I'm just going to say that you found a really good bank. Now, don't get hung up on the 100,000. It could be $1, it could be $1 million. The number is not important. What's important is this word your. This is your money. So now, every time you put money into the bank, that money now becomes a liability to the bank, right? Because they owe you interest. They have to pay you interest when you put the money into the bank. So how does the bank take your money and turn it into an asset? Loans. They loan it out to people. They loan it to you and to other people. So loans are assets to banks. Now, whenever we think of the word loan, guess what we think of? We think of a payment, a debt, an expense, a liability. We have to start thinking the way that the bank thinks. A loan is an asset. So here's what you do. The thing that you do is you put your money into the bank. Now, who on this call has ever went to the bank to borrow money to buy a house? I have. Probably a lot of you have. So here's what you do. After you put your money into the bank, you go back to that bank and you say, Mr. Banker, I want to buy a house. And now you borrow that money from the bank at 7% interest. Now, don't get hung up with these numbers. I want you to get the concept, and you'll see where I'm going. So the thing you did is you put your money into the bank's going to pay you 4, and then they're going to loan it back to you or somebody else at 7, right? So the bank made 7 and you made 4, didn't they? So they made more than you. Because when you put that money in, or I'm sorry, so like when you borrow money from the bank, you have to pay them back with interest, do you not? Absolutely you do, or they'll foreclose on the house. So who's in control of that transaction? The bank. Okay. How about a car? Have you guys ever went out and borrowed money to buy a car from a bank? Let's call that 8% interest. Well, if you borrow money from a car to buy a bank, you got to pay them back, don't you? So who's in control? The banks. So are you starting to see here how all banks do is they move money in, move it out, move it in, move it out, move it in, move it out. That's why that $20 bill that I had my initials on that I highlighted was not there when I went back in an hour to get it, because it's in motion. They're constantly moving it. How about a house remodel? Maybe you want to do new granite countertops, a swimming pool, a patio, a deck. Okay, maybe you go get a HELOC loan. Let's just call it 9%. Well, if you borrow the money from the bank, you got to pay them back with interest, don't you? So the bank's still in control. How about a debt consolidation loan? We're going to pay off all the credit cards, call it 12%. That money has to go back into the banking system. Look, who's in control of every one of these transactions? Yes, the bank. Now, I know math is not everybody's favorite subject, but let's do a little math here, and I promise I'm going to make it easy. What we're going to do is we're going to look and see how well you did compared to how well the bank did. Remember, I said you found a really good bank, and that bank's going to pay you 4% interest on your money. Now, so the bank is going to make the interest on the house at 7%, and you made 4. So if the bank made 7 and you made 4, how much more do they make than you? 3%. Let's look at the car. The car is 8. You made 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. 9 minus 4 is 5. And 12 minus 4 is 8. So the bank made 20% and you made 4%. The bank made 20 and you made 4. How much more did the bank make than you? You guys are thinking 16%, right? 20 minus 4 is 16%. Close. What about 500% more than you? Look, guys, banks are making between 400 and 1,300% annually on the money that you leave there each and every year. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Brent, I hear you moving your lips and flapping your gums, but how do I really know that's true? Here's what you can do. You can go out and look at any bank that you want and pull up a report. It's called BauerFinancial.com, B-A-U-E-R, BauerFinancial.com. You can look up any bank that you want, a small little hometown bank, a big bank that we all know the names of, and you can get their annual report. I don't care if you get it from this year, last year, 20 years ago, and you will see on that report that banks make no less than 400% annually on the money that you leave there. Now, I'm going to challenge you to do this exercise. I've been asking people to do it for years, and if you find a bank that makes any less than 400% annually on the money that you leave there, you owe it to me to call me and tell me, and I will change my presentation. Nobody's done it yet, but maybe you'll be the first. If you think about it, guys, it makes sense, does it not? Because look, I don't care what town you live in. You can come to my town, Port Orange, Florida. We can drive to Orlando. We can go anywhere, Chicago, New York, California, Texas, wherever it is. We can get in our car. We can drive down the main section of town, and we get to a stoplight. And there's 4 corners of that stoplight. Tell me what at least one building is that you see on at least one of those corners on almost every major intersection. It's a bank, right? Are the banks on the bad property, rundown location, bad landscaping, bad architecture? No, they're the nicest buildings in town. Who's paying for all of those? We are. Have you guys ever driven down like a part of town, and all of a sudden you see a new construction building coming up, and you're thinking, oh, I wonder what that's going to be, a new restaurant, a new shop, you know? So again, I can't wait till that's built so I know what it is. You drive by there 2 or 3 weeks later, and it's another bank. Banks are everywhere, are they not? And we are paying for them. So look here in the middle. All I want you to do is to be your own banker in your own life, because you're doing all of this anyway, are you not? You're buying houses, you're buying cars, you're doing house remodels, you're using credit cards. Who's getting all of your money? The banks. The money is leaving your family. You need to be the banker in your own life. Okay, let's move on. Now, here we go. Banks make between 400 and 1,300% on the money you leave there, and there's the resource, BauerFinancial.com. Okay, let's talk about how you spend your money. This is how you spend your money. You spend 20 cents of every dollar goes to automobiles. You spend 30 cents of every dollar goes to housing. You spend about 40 cents of every dollar goes to living. So we're spending 90 cents of every dollar goes out to other people, and we're trying to save 10 cents or 10%. Now, do you know what the average rate of savings is in America today? The last I checked, it was between 5 and 6%. Prior to the recession, it was a negative number. But ever since the recession, people started to hunker down and started to save more. I'm going to say you guys are an above average group, and you're saving 10 cents or 10% of every dollar. Now, when most financial planners, coaches, or advisors, when they come to you and they talk to you about your money, they're talking to you about the amount of money that you're saving. And what they're trying to do is to get you a higher rate of return on what you're saving. But in order to get you a higher rate of return on what you're saving, that involves more risk, does it not? Yes. And how much more risk do you really want to take with your money? Not a lot. So here's where I'm different. I'm not going to talk to you about the amount of money that you're saving. I'm going to talk to you about the amount of money that you're spending. And if I can just take some of the money that you're spending and transfer it over into your savings category, then haven't I just increased your savings without you working any harder, changing your cash flow, taking any additional risk, or losing control? For example, let's say that you were, like on the cars, on the autos, let's say you're spending 20 cents of every dollar goes to autos. Now, I'm not saying that's just the cost of the car. I'm saying the maintenance, the gasoline, the insurance, the upkeep. 20 cents of every dollar goes to automobile. So let's say if we took that 20 and we got it down to 15. So now we move that 5 from the auto category to the savings category, and now the savings category goes up from 10 to 15. Haven't I just given you then a 50% increase on your savings without working harder, changing your cash flow, taking any additional risk, or losing control? Yes. All right. Let's talk about the interest that you spend. You spend 5 cents or 5% of every dollar goes to interest on automobiles. Now, I know what a couple of you are thinking. You're thinking, no, not me, Brent. I don't spend any interest on automobiles. I pay all of my cars with cash. And you're proud to say that. You're proud to say that you pay cash for all of your cars. Well, let's think about that. Is it really true that we pay no interest when we pay cash? Well, there's only 2 reasons that you pay cash for a car. Number 1, you don't want any payments. And number 2, you don't want to pay any interest. Well, is it true that you have no payments when you pay cash for a car? Let's make believe that we're going to go out and buy a $20,000 car, and you've got a $20,000 bill in your hand, and you're going to take that $20,000 bill and you're going to give it to the car dealer. And in exchange, he's going to give you the car. Well, you've just paid cash for the car, right? But you had to make a payment. You had to make one payment of $20,000. Now, you could do that, or maybe we could do 20 payments of $1,000 each. Either way, it's the same amount of money. How do you like to do things? You like to do it on a random basis or systematically? Because when you buy that car, you have to automatically now start saving for the next car, do you not? Because is that car going to last you forever? No, you're going to have to start saving for the next car. Is the car that you're driving right now the first car you ever bought, driven, and owned? No. Is it your second car? Is it your third car? No, you've went through life and you've bought and sold cars, and you're going to continue to go through life and buy and sell cars. Now, what about the interest? Well, you're thinking that I paid 20 grand, so I didn't pay any interest. Well, where did that $20,000 go? It left your family forever. It is gone. That money is gone. You have now given up all future earning rights on that money. See, the $20,000 now is in the hands of the dealership. So before, when it was in your hands, you were earning the interest on it, but now it's gone. So yes, in your mind, you're thinking I didn't pay any interest, but you gave up all the interest you could have been earning. See, in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how I buy cars. See, I buy the car, I'll pay cash for the car, but the money never leaves my family. I never interrupt that compounding growth of that $20,000, even though I go buy the car and pay cash for it. And I'll show you in a minute. Let's talk about the interest that you spend in housing. You spend 25 cents of every dollar goes to housing. Now, I want to drive this home because it's important. All right? Who in here has a house mortgage? Okay, lots of you do. How much is your interest rate? 5%, 4%, 6%? It doesn't really matter. But here's what happens. Every month, when you get in your statement for your house payment due, it's the same payment that you're paying every month, right? But if you look at that statement closely, it breaks it down into 2 sections. It breaks it down into a principal section and an interest section. So I want you to look at your most recent house statement. Let's just say your interest is 5%. Well, on your most recent house statement, was the interest that you paid for this month, was it 5% of the total payment? No, it was a lot more, wasn't it? As a matter of fact, over 80% of your total house payment goes to interest in the first 7 years of a 30-year mortgage. Let me repeat that. over 80% of your total house payment goes to interest in the first 7 years of a 30-year mortgage. Well, let me ask you this question. How long does the average person keep their house before they sell it or refinance it? It's 5 to 7 years. How long have you been in your house? How long were you in your last house? How many times have you refinanced this house or your last house? See, I can play the game. We can go around the whole room, and I bet your answer is right around 7 years, 5 to 7 years. Maybe some of you a little more, maybe some of you a little less. But when we put a group of people together and average it out, it's about 5 to 7 years. So it's not about the rate, because your rate's a good rate, isn't it? 4, 5, 6%. It's not about the rate that you're paying. It's the volume of interest that you are paying. And all that money is leaving your family. You see, all of us get hung up on rate, rate, rate. It's not about the rate, ladies and gentlemen. It's about that volume of interest that you're paying, and it's leaving your family. We also spend 5 cents of every dollar goes to interest on living. So what this means is that we spend 34.5 cents of every dollar goes to interest to other people, and we're trying to save 10. Can you see how it may be a little hard to get off the financial hamster wheel doing this? All right, let's move on. Now, this is going to be the exciting part. What I'm going to show you now is how to get all the money back for all the cars you're ever going to buy, drive, and own for the rest of your life. So what that means is not only do you get the car, but now you have a system to get the money back. Would that be pretty cool? Would that be pretty cool if I could show you how to get all the money back for all the cars you're going to buy, drive, and own for you and your family for the rest of your life? Because let's just think about it, all right? I don't care where you're at in life. You could be age 20, 40, 60, 80, whatever, wherever you're at in life on the age scale. How much of the money have you ever gotten back for all of the cars you've ever bought, driven, and owned up to this point? Zero, right? Is there anybody on that would say any more than zero? No. So if I do nothing else but show you how to get some or all the money back for all the rest of the cars you're going to buy, drive, and own for your family, it's been a pretty good day, hasn't it? You're glad that you're on this call. All right, let's move right into it. Now, this is the machine. Remember, the machine we're going to use to build our wealth is a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. So you're going to have premium deposits. See that right here? Premium deposits, okay? You're also, age doesn't matter. Can you see where I have age is grayed out and death benefit is grayed out? We're not going to talk about age and death benefit. And again, age and death benefit are grayed out. Now, but I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, Brent, I got to know about age and death benefit. I got some analyticals on the call that probably need to know about that. So let's talk about it quickly, okay? Let's make believe we have 3 people. They're all different ages. You pick the ages, 20, 40, 60, 30, 50, 70. They're all in equal health, and they're all going to go into the same life insurance store today at the same time, and they're going to buy a policy. And they're just going to say, again, all this is an example. They're going to put in $10,000 into this life policy. I'm never going to tell you how much to put in. You put in however much you want. This is just an example of somebody that's going to put in $10,000, okay? Now again, okay, so these 3 people are all in equal health, and the only thing different about is their age. So who's going to have the most death benefit of those 3 people? The youngest one, right? Who's going to have the least? The oldest one. Yes, that just makes sense. But that's not why we're meeting today. We're not meeting here to talk about death benefit. We're meeting here to talk about the cash that's available in your policy. We're talking about the cash. So since we're talking about the cash, let's take that same example. Let's say we've got 3 people. You pick their ages, 20, 40, 60, 30, 50, 70. They're all in equal health. They each have a $20 bill in their pocket. They walk into the same grocery store at the same time. Who is going to be able to buy the most groceries with their $20? You're right, all the same, right? The same $20 buys the same amount of groceries for all 3 of those people. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter the language you speak, it doesn't matter if you're fat or skinny, it doesn't matter how well you're dressed, how good you look, the same $20 buys the same amount of groceries. So does it matter about age when we're talking about cash in this concept I'm sharing with you? No, it doesn't. But the reason I want to drive it home is because somebody's going to call me, and guess what you're going to say? You're going to say, Brent, this all looks really good, but I'm too old to do it. No, you're not too old to do it. You're just going to have a lower death benefit. The cash is not going to be affected. Okay, so let's move on. Let me get a quick drink of water. Okay, now on the screen, you see several numbers. And I'm going to make this easy. On the left is just time, year 1 to 8, 9 to 13, and so on. Then you have age and death benefit, which I told you, we already explained, we're not going to be concerned about age and death benefit. They're grayed out. And then we have an individual that's going to put in $10,000 a year into his policy, into his whole life insurance policy, and pay it for 7 years. All right. Now, remember, I don't care how much you put in. And so the policy doesn't have to be paid annually. You can pay it monthly, quarterly, twice a year, annually, and you can change the mode of how you pay it. So you decide the amount that you put in, okay? We're just using this as an example. So in this example, here's what he did. Let's look and see what he did through the first 8 years. He put in $10,000 a year, 1 to 7. And if you notice here in the 4th year, he bought a $25,000 car. He took money from the policy and bought a $25,000 car. Now, in real life, I would never, ever have you wait 4 years to start taking the cash value out of the policy. I want you to start using that cash immediately. You see this 5831 number up here on the first line of cash value available? I want you to start using that cash immediately. And my definition of immediately is within the first month, the first 30 days, all right? Now, I would also never in real life have you stop paying the premium after 7 years, all right? But in this example, I did. So just know this. You have to trust me on this for right now. The longer you put premium into your policy and the earlier you start using the cash, the bigger these numbers are going to be, okay? So here's what he did. All right, so the thing he did is he went and he bought a car for $25,000 in the 4th year, and he's now going to play honest banker with himself and pay himself back. So what is he going to pay himself back? He's going to pay himself $500 a month or $6,000 a year for 5 years, which is a total of $30,000, right? So he's going to pay himself back with interest. Now, do you think it's a good idea that if you borrow money from yourself, you should pay yourself back with interest? Absolutely it is. You told me previously that when you borrow money from a bank, you have to pay them back with interest. So when you borrow from yourself, you should pay yourself back with interest. Treat your money the same way you treat a bank's money, because if you don't, what you're doing is you're saying your money is not as valuable as the bank's money. So you have to treat your money the same way you treat a bank's money. So in this case, we're going to pay ourselves back $500 a month, $6,000 a year for 5 years for a total of $30,000. So let's see what we did here in the first 8 years. We put in 10 times 7 is 70, paid back 6 times 5 is 30. So $100,000 is what we put in. Agree? But we took out $25,000 to buy that first car. So if we put in 100 and took out 25, if we put in 100 and took out 25, how much is our true net injection that we put in? Well, 100 minus 25 is $75,000, is it not? So $75,000 is our true net injection. Now, how much money do we have sitting in cash in our policy? That's right, $73,226. So if you take $73,226 and divide it by 75,000, you just got back 97 cents of every dollar for that first car. Now, how would you like to have 97 cents of every dollar for every car you bought, driven, and owned up to this point in your life? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, is there anything stupid that I am doing here to make this happen? No, not at all. I just bought a stupid life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends designed for this money multiplier method, the infinite banking concept, and I'm just using it to buy the car. You're going to buy the car anyway, right? Now, let's move on because that car wears out. So now we're going to go to year 8 and we're going to buy, now we're going to go to year 9 and buy another car for $25,000. Well, where did that $25,000 come from? It came from that cash value of $73,226. So now what we did is we went out and bought the car. We're no longer going to put premium into the policy in this example. All we're going to do is play honest banker with ourselves and pay ourselves back the same way we were paying the bank back. So we borrowed 25 and put back 30. Borrowed 25 and put back 30. So how much more did we put in than we took out during that 5-year time period? Well, we took out 25 and put back 30. So that means we put back $5,000 more than what we took out. Well, now how much cash do we have in our policy? We've gotten over $95,000. So our policy grew from 73 to 95. That is a $22,000 growth with a $5,000 net injection. How do you like buying cars my way now? And it just keeps getting better. Every single car, these numbers just keep getting bigger. Now, watch this. Look at this. I want you to look at year 1 to 13, and I want you to see what did we do in the first 13 years. Well, we put in 10 times 7 is 70 for 70. We pay back on the first car, 6 times 5 is 30. So in the first 8 years, we put in 100 grand. And then in year 9 through 13, we put in 6 times 5 is 30, so another 30. So we put in $130,000 in 13 years. But we took out for 2 cars, one in year 4 and one in year 9. So if we put in 130 and took out 50, if we put in 130 and took out 50, how much is our true net injection? 130 minus 50 is what? Yes, it's $80,000. How much cash do you have in year 13? It's okay. Go ahead and say it. You have $95,000 plus. What is our true net injection? 80,000. So let me ask you this. If your true net injection is 80 and you've got 95,000 now in your account, not only do you have the 95,000 in your account, guess what else you have? You have 2 cars sitting on the driveway. You have 2 cars. You have a 5-year-old car and a 10-year-old car that is sitting on the driveway. Do you not? So if this is true, our net injection is 80 and we have 95 plus the 2 cars. How much did the 2 cars cost you to buy, drive, own, and use? The answer is you made money, didn't you? You made money. Now, look, I can't sit here and tell you that you made money and the cars didn't cost you anything because you had to start this concept. Did you not? You had to start this program. Go back and look at year number 1 when you put in 10 grand. How much could you use? You could only use 5,800, but you had to start, right? In other words, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to swim, you got to get in the pool. You can't learn to swim by sitting in the grandstands looking at the pool, can you? So you had to start the program. But let me ask you this. Are you in this for the short term or the long term? And you all answer long term, but guess what? You get hung up in short term thinking. Have you ever read the book called A Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren? In that book, Rick Warren says life is like a marathon. It doesn't matter where you start. It only matters how you finish. This is the game of life. So did I just prove to you how you're going to get all the money back for all the cars you're going to buy, drive, and own for the rest of your life? So not only do you get the car, but you get the money back. And is there anything ridiculous, stupid, or idiotic that I did? No, man. I bought a stupid whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends designed for this concept, and I'm just using it to buy my cars. Now, the reason I show you this as an example of buying cars is because most of the audience that I talk to, I bet you guys understand cars, because I bet you've all have either driven a car, ridden in a car, or owned a car, right? But let's say this wasn't a $25,000 car. Let's say if it was a $50,000 car, and instead of you paying yourself back $500 a month or $6,000 a year, you're now doubling that. You're paying yourself $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year. What would happen to those numbers? That's right, they would increase. What if mama and daddy had a $50,000 car? What would happen to the number? They would even be bigger. Well, okay, let's say this wasn't a car. What if it was a boat? Could you do this for a boat? Could you do it for a bicycle? Could you do it, so could you buy an iPhone and do this? Yes, an airline ticket. A house? Absolutely. What about your taxes? Ooh, could you get all the money back for all the taxes that you're going to pay, your state, federal, local taxes? Yeah, listen up, California. You can get all your money back for your taxes, right? People are leaving your state because they're tired of paying the taxes, are they not? What about charitable giving? Could you get all the money back for the money that you give to charity? A couple of you are thinking, Brent, that's just not right. God does not want me to get my charitable giving money back. Well, let me tell you this. If God did not want you to get your charitable money giving back, he would not have you on this call and me telling you how to get it back. You're here for a reason. Do you know any poor people adding wings on any churches? Do you know of any? Neither do I. It doesn't matter what it is, ladies and gentlemen. We are now turning every liability into an asset. We are turning every depreciating asset into an appreciating asset. Have you ever heard of a guy named Robert Kiyosaki? Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote a book called Second Chance. This is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in that book. But you never saw it when you read it, did you? It's never been explained to you like this, has it? What about Tony Robbins, the book called Money Master the Game? Chapter 5.2 of that book is exactly what Tony Robbins is talking about. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this concept has been around for over 200 years. I didn't create it. Nelson Nash didn't create it. It's been around for over 200 years. It's not on trial. It's not something we're going to test out and see how it works. Our tax code has only been here since 1913. There is so much that you can do inside of this vehicle with its features and benefits that you cannot do with any other vehicle on the planet. And if there's something better than this, let me know what it is, because I've been looking for the last 14 years and haven't found it. All right, now let's move on. Oh, There's three rules. Three rules. Rule number one, policy premium deposit. What does that mean? Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Now, you've all heard pay yourself first. Have you not? Yes. But do you ever do it? No, you never do it. Here's what you guys do whenever you get money in. You take that money, you put it into the conventional bank of the town you live in, and guess what you do? You pay everybody else first. You pay the car people, the house people, the student loan people. You pay the Girl Scouts, the piano lessons, the soccer practice. You buy the groceries. You pay for the dog food. You pay everybody else first, and you hope there's money left over for you. You've got to change that. You have to start paying yourself first. Rule number two, pay yourself with interest. When you borrow money from a bank, you pay them back with interest, don't you? You never bat an eye or ask questions about it. You make those payments. Treat your money the same way you treat a bank's money. If you don't, you're saying your money's not as valuable as a bank's money. And rule number three, recycle and recapture all of the money. All of the money that goes out, you need to recycle and recapture it, just like we've been explaining. All right, so hopefully you guys are excited. It is life-changing, let me tell you. This is a financial life-changing event. It is a paradigm shift. It's outside of the box, right? It's not what your friends, your colleagues, or coworkers are doing. You're probably going to end this call today when we're done, and you're going to go and tell someone like maybe your brother-in-law, and your brother-in-law is going to say, that's not right. That can't possibly be true. Well, let me tell you, do you really want to take advice, financial advice from your broke-ass brother-in-law? Probably not. So do your research on everything that I'm telling you. I'm not making this stuff up. All right. The three rules: pay yourself first, pay yourself with interest, recycle and recapture your money. If it works for a car, what else does it work for? Doesn't matter what it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're now turning liabilities into assets, depreciating assets into appreciating assets, and now we're keeping control of our money. There's no leakage of money going out. There's the two resources I gave you. So I've given you 3 books. I gave you Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. There's Second Chance, Robert Kiyosaki, and Money, Master the Game. Check out chapter 5.2 of that Tony Robbins books. All right, now this is the last section I'm going to go into, and I think it's one of the most exciting. It's called the Money Multiplier Map. And when you're working with us, we are going to design your own specific money multiplier map. Not just one map. We're going to constantly update these maps 2 to 3 times a year, every 4 to 6 months, because your financial life is not stagnant, right? Here's what you're going to do. As you continue to go through life, you're going to buy things and sell things. You may have a windfall, downfall. You may get a raise. You may get a demotion. So as your financial life changes, we have to update your money map, your financial map. When I'm done showing you this, you are going to see how I paid off $984,711 in 39 months, okay? Now, I'm not going to use my exact example because it'll take too long, but I'm going to use another example that's a little quicker and easier to follow, but you'll get the idea, okay? So this is called the Money Multiplier Map. Now, on the left, it just has months, okay? So like if you see, okay, just at the top, it's got those numbers like as far as the first year, second year, and so on. And then it has months 1 to 12, 13 to 24, and so on. And then the next column is called premium deposit. Now this individual, he says, hey, I'm going to put in $25,000 into this policy. Now that's his number, okay? The last guy was $10,000. If the $25,000 is too big of a number for you to swallow, then just take off a 0 and we'll go with 2,500. All right, take off a 0 on all the numbers that I'm showing you, okay? Again, this is just an example. You are going to decide how much premium that you want to put into the policy. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to ask me, how much should I put in? And I'm not going to tell you. But here's what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to say, are you worth at least $2.50 an hour? And you're going to say, of course I'm worth $2.50 an hour. Okay, so that means your policy premium deposit, that means you're willing to pay yourself first $2.50 an hour. Well, how much is that really? How many hours are in a work week? Let's say 40. $250 an hour times 40, it's $100 a week, $400 a month, $5,000 a year. Okay, so what you just told me is if you're worth $250 an hour, you have no problem putting $5,000 a year into the policy. $100 a week, $400 a month. But now you're thinking, oh, Brent, since you put it that way, I'm probably not worth $250 an hour. I'm only worth $1.25 an hour. Okay, no problem. $1.25 an hour times 40 hours a week, it's $50 a week, $200 a month, $2,500 a year. You choose the number. I'm not going to argue with you on what number to put in. You decide. All right? Now, I want you to look across the top. And if you notice there, he has 12 third-party debts. And on each of those debts, it shows you how much he owes, how much his payment is that he has to make each month as a minimum, the interest rate, and how long he has left to pay those debts off. Now, if you add them all up, left to right, again, we're looking at the Discover, the Chase, the American Express, the Barclays, the Lowe's, and the Nordstroms. Then Wells Fargo, private loan, BMW, West Marine, condo, and house, okay? If you add all of those up from left to right, it comes to over $469,000, okay? So I want you to write on your paper, even though it comes to $469,000, let's round down, okay? Because I'm going to under-promise and over-deliver right here. So let's just make believe it was only $450,000. Even though it's $469,000, I want you to write down on your paper $450,000 is what he owes those third-party creditors. Now, go back to policy premium deposit. He's going to put in $25,000 a year. So on your piece of paper, I want you to write down he's going to put in $25,000 a year, and he has $450,000 of debt to pay. So let's assume there's no interest, and you're putting in $25,000 a year, and you owe $450 grand. How long is it going to take you to pay that debt off, assuming there's no interest? Well, 25 goes into 450 18 times, so that would be 18 years. So here's what you should have on your paper. He owes $450,000. He's going to put in $25,000 a year, and it should take him 18 years to pay the debt down. Well, let's walk through this and see how well he does. If you notice there in the very first month of the first year, he puts in $25,000. That's what he puts into the policy premium. He immediately borrows $14,366. Now, how soon is immediately? Within 30 days, okay? Within 30 days. So he takes that $14,366, and I want you to see what he does with it. He pays off all of Discover, pays off all of Chase, pays off all of the AMX card, pays off all of Barclays, and he pays Lowe's down from $9,500 to $7,600. He takes that money that he was paying those first four creditors. Discover was $160 a month, Chase $200, AMX $200, and Barclays $228. Add all of those numbers up, and it comes to $788 a month. So now, because he's paid off those creditors, he no longer owes those creditors, and he's just going to pay himself back the money he had already agreed to pay them, which equals $788. Now, he's going to pay this back to himself into his own bank account, and I call it a miscellaneous account. The reason I call it a miscellaneous account is because when you're doing this, I am going to recommend that you have a separate checking or savings account that you're running this money through to do this. Not that you have to. You can use the one you have right now, but I'm going to recommend that you have a separate one so you're not commingling the funds. It's okay to commingle your funds. It's just that your tax preparer, your CPA, tax professional accountant will like it better if you keep it separate. Okay? So now that money that you're paying yourself back each month, $788, that's yours to use right away. There's no wait period of 30 days on that. So let's look what happens when we get to the end of the first year, beginning of the second year, month number 13. We now put in $25,000. We immediately are going to borrow $14,871. How soon is immediately? Within 30 days. So we take the $14,871 plus the $94.56 we've been paying ourselves back for the previous 12 months. And now we have a total of $24,327 to use. Well, guess what we're going to use that money for? To pay down more debt. So now we're going to pay off Lowe's. We're going to pay off Nordstrom's. We're going to pay off Wells Fargo. I'm not doing anything in the private loan. All right, I'm not paying any additional to the private loan. And I'm going to pay down the BMW from $17,600 to $15,000. So now we take that money that we were paying ourselves back before, okay, which was $788, and now we add in those three debts. We add $287 plus $276 plus $271. We add it to the $788, and now we're paying ourselves back $1622 a month. Are we working harder, changing our cash flow, taking any additional risk, or losing control? No. All we're doing is we're using this policy to pay down our debt. The sun still comes up, the sun still goes down. All right? There's nothing else that we're not changing anything we're doing in our life. All we've done is we've added this stupid whole life insurance policy, and we're using that as a tool. Okay, scroll down just a little bit and look at month number 18, is it? Well, now we pay off the private loan. It pays off during the normal course of the loan, right? So now that pays off during the normal course of the loan. So now we take that $922 we were paying to the private loan, We add it to the 1622, and now we're paying ourselves $25.44 a month. Okay? Now, before I move on, here's what a couple of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, Brent, that looks really good, but I don't have any debt. Well, okay, you have no debt. So how does this work for you with no debt? Well, is it really true that you owe like nothing, that you have no debt, right? Think about the expenses that you have. How about taxes? You got to pay taxes every year. How comfortable is it? I have a piece of property in Island Park, Idaho. How comfortable do you think it is in January in Island Park, Idaho without any heat? Not very, is it? So I got heat expense. All right. My primary residence is in Port Orange, Florida. How comfortable do you think it is in September without any air conditioning? Not very. So again, don't think of this as just third-party debt. Think of it as all the expenses that you have. You pay electric bill, you pay gas bill, you pay a cell phone bill. You probably like to eat, don't you? You put food in your belly, you pay taxes. So again, don't get tunnel vision here. Don't think of it as just third-party debt. Think of it as paying down and recapturing those dollars that are leaving your family for all of your expenses. Okay, again, the debt, all right? So how do you think of this debt? I want you to imagine a big dining room table, okay? And when we started, we had over $450,000 in debt. Well, how do you pay down that debt? In other words, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So that's what we're doing. We're paying this debt down a little bit at a time. And is it possible to owe no man nothing? Well, I guess it is. You would have to be homeless and indigent and own nothing, so you own nothing. But I think everybody that's on this call probably is into creature comforts. Are you not? Because you're watching this probably on a computer, so you own a computer, right? So we like creature comforts. So let's move on. All right. Again, the method works for all debt and expenses. Now, let's go to the end of the second year, beginning of the third year. We put in our $25,000 again in premium. Now look and see what we can borrow. We can borrow 22. Can you see how each year you're borrowing more money? Because in a whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends, every day is better than the day before. Today's better than yesterday. Tomorrow is going to be better than today. All right. It's not my flapping gums telling you that. It is in your policy contract. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in 25,000. And if you notice, we got 22,400 to use from that, plus what we paid ourselves back, which was the previous year in month 13 to 24, which was 25,900. So if we take 25,900 plus 22,400, we now have 48,300. Well, we pay off all of the BMW, and we pay down West Marine we pay it down from 47,000 to 8,300. We take the money that we were paying ourselves back before, which was $25.44 a month. We add the BMW that was $500 a month. Now we're paying ourselves $3,044 a month back to ourselves. Look at month 27. In month 27, West Marine pays off. So now we just add the $1,261 to the $30.44, and now we're paying ourselves back $4,305 a month. All right, you seeing how this works? Now, watch this. If you've been sleeping up to this point and haven't been paying attention or washing dishes or burping the baby or walking the dog, you got to wake up for this. This is very important that I'm going to show you. There's going to be two really huge things that I'm going to show you, and this is the first of the two. Here's what I want you to do. How much did we put in the first 3 years of this policy? Well, we put in 25 a year, did we not? 25, 25, and 25 is 75. Well, how much did we use in those first 3 years? Well, in the first year, we used 14 and some change, second year, 14 and some change, and third year, 22 and some change. So we used a total of $50,000. So if we put in 75 and we're using 50, how much do we have in our policy? Yeah, you're thinking 75 minus 50 is 25 grand. So we've got 25 grand in our policy, right? No. We have all $75,000 in our policy, even though we're using 50,000 of it. Because here's what's going on. In a whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends, you are not using your money. When you borrow money, you're not borrowing your money. What you're doing is you're putting your policy up for collateral, and you're taking a loan from the general fund of the insurance company. So your money is continuously compounding and growing all 75,000, even though you're using 50,000 of it. So there's no interruption in the compounding, that compounded growth. Do you realize how huge that is? Do you realize how big that is? There is not another vehicle on this planet with these features and benefits that allows you to do this. If there is, call me, text me, or email me and tell me what it is, because I've been looking for it for about the last 14 years and haven't found it. And I've been asking you guys to show it to me for almost that long, and nobody has showed it to me. This is a life-changing vehicle when it comes to your money and your finances. All right, now, let's move on. We get to the end of the third year, beginning of the fourth year, month 37. We now put in 25 into our policy. How much can we use immediately? And immediately is when? Within 30 days? We now can use almost 26, more than we put in, right? So now we take that 25.9 plus the 41.9 we've been paying ourselves back the previous 12 months, and we've got a total of 67.9. We take that 67.9 and we pay down the condo from 81,000 to 12,000. We are now going to continue to pay ourselves back the same amount, 4305, because I did not pay the condo off. I only paid it down. And remember when we started, I told you I don't want you to change your cash flow, work any harder, take any additional risk, or lose control. So we continue to pay back the same amount. Now we get to the end of the fourth year, beginning of the fifth year, month 49. We now put in 25. We've got 26.8 to use. 26.8 plus the 51.6. We've been paying ourselves back the previous 12 months for a total of 78.4. Well, the condo's now paid off. Now the house, we're going to pay the house down from 181 to 102. We're going to continue to pay ourselves back. Now we're paying ourselves back $54.84 a month, because what we've done is we were paying ourselves back the 4305, plus now that the condo's paid off, we add 1179, and now we're paying ourselves back $54.84 a month. We're not working harder, changing our cash flow, taking any additional, or losing control. All we've really done, ladies and gentlemen, is we bought this stupid life insurance policy, and we're using it to pay down our debt. That's it. We're living life. Life is going on just like normal. All right. Now we get to the end of the fifth year, beginning of the sixth year, month 61. We now put into this policy how much? 10,000. Well, wait a minute. Why are we only putting in 10,000 and not the full 25? Shouldn't we be putting in the 25? No, now we're only putting in 10,000, and here's why. The way the policy is designed is so it's efficient and effective for high cash value and the banking concept. So there's two parts of the policy. There's a base premium and a paid up additions rider premium. In this example, and on most policies that we design, this is how we design them. You've got 10,000, again, assuming that your premium is $25,000, we're going to put 10,000 or 40% of that premium into the base, and we're going to put the other 60% or 15,000 into the paid up additions rider. So here's what's happening. In the policy, in the beginning stages, the paid up additions rider portion is what's driving your cash value. Okay? Now that the policy is older, it's more seasoned, it's more efficient, now the base premium is driving your cash value. So we're going to drop off the paid up additions rider and only pay the base premium. Again, it's a lot of information. You really don't need to know all of that from the get-go. All right, I'm just trying to share with you what's going on. Here's how I want you to think about it. Think of the paid up additions rider like this. Have you ever seen the space shuttle take off into space, right? Whether in person or on TV. And what happens when that space shuttle takes off? There's two booster rockets, is there not? So when that shuttle gets way up in the air, what happens to those booster rockets? They fall off. Why do they fall off? Because it's no longer needed anymore. So that's what we're doing. We're dropping off that paid up additions rider. So now we're only putting in 10,000 into that first policy. But now we start a second policy, a brand new policy. Now, if you work with us, you're never going to wait more than 5 years to start a second policy. Most of our clients start a second policy way before, okay? Because they see how efficient this works and how effective we work with them. So now we're going to start another policy. Well, let me ask you this. The bank that you do business with, is there one branch or multiple branches? There's multiple branches, right? So if there's multiple branches of the bank that you're banking with in your local town, can you have multiple branches of your banks, i.e. more policies? Absolutely. So now we're going to start a second policy for $25,000 in premium. Now let's look and see where we're here at in month 61. Let's look at that first policy that you put in 10,000. Now I want you to slide your numbers right next to that, and I want you to see where it says loan available. Now, remember earlier, I said you're never, ever, ever going to want to stop paying premium into your whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Well, here is where I prove that point. Do you notice how you put in $10,000 into the policy? And within 30 days, you're able to borrow out a little more than $13,000. Now, I'm not a math genius or anything, but I do know this. If I put in 10 grand and I've got 13,000 that I can use right away, that is a 30% growth on that money that I can use right then and there within 30 days, right? So if I put in 10 and I get 13 back, do I ever want to stop that? Do I ever want to stop doing that? Because guess what's going to happen next year in year 7 when I put in 10? The number's only going to be bigger than 13.1. I don't know what it is exactly. It's only going to be bigger. So you never, ever want to stop paying your policy premium. If you ever think that you do not need financial counseling. You need severe psychiatric care. Because how hard is it for you to give me $10 if I'm going to give you 13 back right away? For you to give me $1 if I give you back $1.30? For you to give me $10,000 and I give you back $13,000? Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is in your policy contract. These aren't numbers we're just pulling out of the air. This is in your policy contract. So you never want to stop paying your premium. All right, let's see where we're at. So now you've got your loan available of like 13.1 from policy number 1. Loan available for policy number 2 is 14.3. That's a brand new policy. Plus you've got the 65.8 that you've been paying yourself back for the previous 12 months. So you've got a total of 93.3. And you only owe 90 grand on the house. So now we pay off the house. The house is completely paid off. All of those 12 third-party debts that total $469,000 is all paid off to the third-party creditor. Now, how long did I say it was going to take us to do this? Go look at your paper. I said it was going to take us 18 years, didn't I? It didn't take 18, 15, 10. We did it in just a tad over 5, right? How happy do you think this family was? Now let's dive in a little deeper. Let's see, what did they actually do? How much money did they put in to pay off $469,000 of debt? Well, how much did they put in year 1? $25,000. In year 2, $25,000. 3, 4, and 5 is $25,000. So 25 times 5 is 125. Plus in year 6, they put in 10 and another 25. So that's $160,000 that they injected of outside money to pay off $469,000 of debt. All with keeping their cash flow the same without working any harder, taking any additional risk, or losing control. Now, are you seeing how I paid off $984,711 in 39 months? The only difference was I was doing a different amount of premium and my debts were different. See, look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you could do this the same exact way, right? But could you have went faster? Could this family have went faster if they wanted to and paid it off quicker? Sure, they could have added more premium. They could have started more policies earlier. They could have paid back more than just what was required on the minimum, what they were paying the third-party creditors of the minimum. So they could have went faster. Could they have went slower? Sure, they could have went slower. They could have paid a less premium. They could have never started a second policy. They could have decided not to pay themselves back and play honest banker. So however fast or slow you go is totally up to you. There is absolutely no risk to what I just shared with you. Nobody in your state has ever lost money in a whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Go look it up. Go find it. If you find it, send it to me. The only risk factor is you and how you use this. And who do you know better than you? All right? Now, here's our second aha moment. So if you've been sleeping or you're burping the baby, walking the dog, whatever it is, put it down. Come over here and look. Look at what I'm going to do. Now, when we started, we had 12 third-party debts, didn't we? All those debts are now paid off to the third-party creditor. What I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you what would happen if he just took the last 2 debts. I'm not even going to include the first 10, just the last 2, and if he continues to pay himself back the same amount of money he had already agreed to pay the finance company and the mortgage company for the condo and the house. Because remember, go back to the very first year when we started this in month 1. I didn't create this debt for this family. They showed up at my door with this debt, right? So they are already obligated to this. This was their obligation that they already said this is what we're going to do. So let's just say now that they've done this, they've went through all of this, and now those debts are paid off. Well, let's look at the condo. Go back and look at the condo, okay? On the very first month, okay? On the very first month, how much was the condo payment? The condo payment, and again, it's the same every month. The condo payment was $1,179 a month, was it not? Now, how many months did he have left to pay when he showed up at our door on the condo? Well, he had 122 months left. But let's be fair, because we've been doing this for 61 months. So now we would still have 61 months left to pay on the condo, right? Because if he would have went through his normal conventional way of thinking, he would still owe the third-party creditors another 61 months. So what I'm showing you here is if he just continues to pay himself back the money he had already agreed to pay the mortgage company, how much more he would have in his pocket. So we take 61 times 1179, and that's 71,000. Now let's go to the house. What was his house payment? $1,421 a month. How long did he have left to pay on it when he showed up at our door? 219 months. Well, we got to subtract the 61 months that we've been doing it. So 219 minus 219 minus 61, he would still have 158 months left to pay on that house. So that gives you $224,000. So add those two numbers up. So here's what I'm saying. If you do nothing else but pay yourself back the same amount of money you had already agreed to pay the mortgage company, can you see here how he would have over $295,000 in his account, plus the house and the condo? But it gets better than that, because remember, I said there's a guaranteed growth inside of the policy. And you remember what that was? That's right, it was 4%. So we have to add the 4% to that number. And if he just continues to pay himself back the money he had already agreed to pay the mortgage company, he would have a total of over $371,000 in his pocket, plus the house and the condo, all without changing his cash flow, working any harder, taking any additional risk, or losing control. If he didn't do this, who gets that $371,000? Yes, the banks. Who's getting all of your money? The banks. Now do you know why the banks are so big and they're everywhere? Now that you know this, everybody should do this. Everybody. Now again, this is just my opinion. Now that you know this information, everybody should do it. Because if you do not do this, everybody now deserves to break the bonds of financial slavery you don't even realize you're in and start taking control of your own wealth and your own money. Because now that you know this, and if you don't do it, not only are you stealing from yourself, your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, and future generations to come, because you're letting money leave the family. You see, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays, they all understood how to keep money in their family. And all we're going to do is we're going to mimic exactly what they're doing. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just going to mimic and imitate what they do. Guys and gals, listen. There's us and the super wealthy. Us and the super wealthy. We all have access to the same financial tools. Do you agree? Yeah, we do. The only difference between us and the super wealthy is they use the tools differently than we do. Now that I know how to play the game that the wealthy play, I'm just playing it right along with them and building my wealth right along with them. Now look, I'm not a very smart individual. I'm not the brightest candle on the cake or the sharpest tool in the shed. As a matter of fact, it took me 13 trimesters to get through 10 trimesters of chiropractic college because I kept failing classes. When I finally did pass, I got my degree. I walked across the stage at chiropractic college in St. Louis, Missouri, at Logan Chiropractic College. I still could not practice because in order to practice, I had to pass this thing called national board exams. In the national boards, they gave you part 1, 2, 3, and 4, and another section called PT. Well, I failed part 3 times. And they only give me the test once every 6 months. You can only take it every 6 months. So because I failed it 3 times, it took me an extra 2 years after I graduated to even be able to treat patients and get paid for it. So I'm not the brightest candle on the cake by any means, all right? But I understand this. And here's what I heard. I don't know when he said it, but have you guys ever heard of a guy named Warren Buffett? Yeah, a couple of you have? Well, back in October of 2008, this is when I heard it. I don't know if it's the first time he said it, but it's when I heard it. And I think about this almost every day of my life. And this is how simple this is to me. This is just how simple and easy this concept is. So here's what Warren Buffett said, and here's what I think about every day of my life. Warren Buffett said, if poor people would just do what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. How much sense does that make, ladies and gentlemen? All we're going to do is mimic and imitate what the wealthy do. That's it. Now, every one of us on this call, only one of 2 things are possible that are going to happen. Only one of 2 things are possible. in the next 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20, 30, 50, 80 years. Only one of two things are going to happen. We're either going to live or we're going to die. Now, I like to just to use the word graduate instead of die, but you can use whatever word you want. But we're either going to live or we're going to pass. Now, are we better off with or without this concept that I shared with you if we live? Well, obviously, hopefully you see we're better off with. Well, how about when we pass, when we die, when we graduate? It's not if. Are our beneficiaries better off with or without this concept that I just shared with you? Well, obviously with, because of the death benefit, right? Because of the death benefit. So today, how much did I even talk about the death benefit? Hardly at all. How much did I even really talk about life insurance? Hardly at all, right? This is just the product and the vehicle that we're able to use to build our wealth. If there's something better out there, then let's use it. Tell me what it is. Call me up and tell me I'm wrong. I got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I understand I should listen twice as much as I talk. I still struggle with that, but I understand I should. I'll listen. So I didn't even talk about death benefit or life insurance. How much did I talk about policies are exempt from judgments and liens in most states? And in your state, if it's not, we just form a collateral assignment so that it is. How much did I talk about the internal growth of the policy grows tax-free? I didn't really talk about that. See, here's what we want to do. Here's what we want to do, ladies and gentlemen, with our money. We want to pay tax on our money one time only, pay it at the lowest rate possible, and we want to get that money into a tax-free environment where it's growing tax-free, and we want the government out of our hair, do we not? Oh, what about this one? I did not even talk about loans never have to be repaid back. You do not have to pay back your policy loan because you're continuing to pay your premium. A policy loan is simply a prepayment of the death benefit. That's all you're doing. You're borrowing. When you take a policy loan, you're putting your policy up for collateral. It's a prepayment of the death benefit. You are guaranteed to die. We just don't know when. Well, so again, the insurance company has absolutely no risk because when you die, the death benefit pays off the loan, and then your beneficiaries get the additional money tax-free. If you have no loans out on your policy, they'll get the full death benefit tax-free. So the loan never has to be paid back. See, here's what we're doing. We are now using good dollars. We're now going to use our good dollars, and we're going to pay them back with weaker dollars in the future. Instead of what we've been programmed and taught to do, which is to give them our good dollars today, and they'll pay us back with weaker dollars in the future. We're not going to do that. We're going to change the game. We're going to use our money while we're living. While we're living. Anybody that's ever talked to you about a life insurance policy, they talk to you about what? Death benefit. How much death benefit do you want? I don't care how much death benefit you want. I want to know how much cash do you want. Let's talk about the cash and the living benefit. As long as I solve your need for finance and cash, you will have more death benefit than you can ever imagine. Now listen, if this is something that you want to do, you got to contact me. You got to give me your information, name, email, phone number, or go back to the person that introduced you to this. If you want to talk about this and how this is going to work in your situation, we've got to schedule a time to talk. And if you schedule a time to talk, or if you give me your contact information, give me contact information, phone number, and email that you will actually answer when I call you. Anybody that you think should hear this information, please, please, please have them go to the website. I appreciate every one of you being on the call and taking the time, and I am here to serve you. Call, text, or email me, and let's just go through and get your questions answered. I mean, even if this isn't something you want to do, let's make sure that you have all of your questions answered. Okay, thanks for your time, and have a great day.